North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Okay, what's that? We report the news, honestly, truthfully, fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary, that's not the news, and we debate. Commentary, not the news, is simply my opinion. Just as valuable as yours, that's why we debate. So by all means, please do so. You can do that two ways. You can join us on the chat room, which is available at Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also call me on the telephone at 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Had a wonderful conversation with a longtime friend of mine. And she said, I really miss the debate. And I do too. And for whatever reason, debate is something that I would like to spend more time with here, especially on the phone. And if you have something to add, please do. This is our broadcast. This is where we get to have the conversations they don't want us to be a part of in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere. And what we need to do here is we need to have a better perspective on what's going on around us and what decisions are being made on our behalf. And this is where we do it. There is violence. It happened over the weekend. It is awful. Most recently, the breaking news, the first responders have arrived at a scene where an SUV apparently crashed through the door, the actual front of the store, of an Apple store in Massachusetts. One person was killed, at least one. 14 people have been taken to local hospitals. 4 of them are in critical condition, according to local media reports. The vehicle was still lodged against the back wall of the store. As of early afternoon, Hingham police called for a tow truck to remove it. This morning was an unthinkable morning, and people are trying to get through it and process what happened, according to Plymouth District Attorney Timothy Cruz. This investigation is active and outgoing, he said, adding a dark-colored SUV went through the store's plate glass window. If you've ever been to an Apple store, you'll note that the entire front of the building, the entire front of the store is plate glass. And this SUV went right through it, crashed all the way into the back wall of that store. And those stores are large. We're talking somewhere around 40 feet. Several people were trapped inside the store until the vehicle could be removed. The store is reportedly nearing collapse. After the incident, authorities have not yet said whether they believe the crash was intentional or accidental. The store, which is in the Derby Street shops, had been scheduled to open about an hour before the crash. Fox News Digital has reached out to Apple for more information. We will follow this story, obviously. Sadly, that is not the only violence that we have to discuss today. CNN is putting out updates on this amazing shooting in Colorado Springs. It was at an LGBTQ gathering place, and a lot of people have lost their lives. The owners of the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, will loan Section 93 of the C2C rainbow flag to Colorado Springs to display in its city hall to honor the lives lost in a mass shooting at an LGBTQ bar. This is according to Colorado Springs City Council member Nancy Henjum, speaking to CNN on an interview. The flag has been on display in Orlando since 2017, where a similar violent attack occurred. Section 93 of the flag has served as a tribute to the lives lost at Pulse nightclub and a sign of support for freedom lovers worldwide. Henjum said that there will likely be a ceremony or acknowledgement when the flag is presented. Club Q bartender Derek Rump was killed in the shooting, according to the family. Derek Rump was among those killed in the Club Q shooting. His sister Julia Kissling confirmed to CNN. Rump worked as a bartender at the club along with Daniel Aston, who was also shot, or killed rather, in the Saturday night shooting. There's so many ways they were polar opposites, but they worked very well together. When speaking about her brother, Kissling told a CNN affiliate that her brother found a community of people he loved very much. He felt he could shine there, and he did. U.S. Attorney's Office in Colorado is offering its deepest condolences to the victims and their families impacted by the Club Q shooting, while working to determine what federal response is warranted. Also, Leaders and activists are calling on lawmakers to enact legislation for LGBTQ people in the wake of a mass shooting where at least 5 people were killed inside a Colorado Springs LGBTQ nightclub. Kelly Robinson, incoming president of the Human Rights Campaign, said she's equal parts heartbroken and enraged. What happened is not happening in a vacuum, she said, citing an uptick in anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and legislation. Robinson called for lawmakers to pass common sense gun legislation to combat the rise of extremism and white supremacy. Peter Ambler, the executive director of Giffords, an anti-gun violence organization led by former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, said the Sunday shooting is part of a political system of hate and violence. Ambler is calling on Congress and state legislatures to pass the Disarm Hate Act, which aims to prevent hate-motivated violence. Barrett Hudson was shot 7 times during the shooting at Club Q this weekend. None of the bullets pierced any vital organs. I was hit 7 times in the back with an AR-15 up and down from the top of my back to my lower extremity. I got very lucky and missed all my organs. There are no way I should have walked out of there. I'm very, very appreciative for life and for you guys to interview me and get my side of the story. He told CNN in an interview from the hospital bed. Maybe I can help somebody else and be strong for me as well as other people. Hudson recently moved to Colorado, decided to check out the club with his friends on Saturday night. I never heard gunshots in a club before that. I heard popping balloons, and it kind of sounds like that because the music's so loud. And you really think, well, that's not a gun. And I heard pop, 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 and I looked and I saw a door kind of shut, and there's a gunman. Recognized the weapon because he has one at his house. There was a man in front of him. He put his hands up a little bit, took 2 steps back, and the dude just killed him. That's when I took off running with some other people. I got hit 7 times, fell down, got back up. There were 2 double doors in the back. I ran out the one on the right, so I immediately went right, and I'm shot 7 times through all of this. He kept running, hopped a barbed wire fence, and made it to a nearby 7-Eleven convenience store. That's when I was screaming for help that I was shot. I thought I got shot once or twice, but I got shot 7 times. While medical personnel were counting his wounds, Hudson called his dad, who he considers his best friend. I wanted him to hear my voice. After the interview, Hudson walked for the first time since the shooting. Online records show the suspect, Club Q shooter, is facing multiple murder and hate crime charges. Anderson Aldrich is facing 5 counts of first-degree murder, 5 counts of bias-motivated crime causing bodily injury. This according to the online docket in El Paso County courts. Aldrich remains hospitalized following injuries sustained during the interview. Charges have been not formally filed, according to Colorado Springs Police Chief, telling CNN in an interview. One of the Good Samaritans in the club, was injured during the incident. This according to Colorado's Police Chief Adrian Vasquez. Vasquez said, if not for the hero patrons who stopped the gunman, countless more would have been injured. One of them was injured, is in the hospital. I'm waiting for an update on him, he said, adding it was a non-life-threatening injury. The other individual was not injured. They did an amazing job. The chief said at least 5 people died during the shooting. Up to 30 were injured. Vasquez says the injured number is in flux as they continue the investigation. I'm being a little cautious because injuries could range from being shot to maybe falling when trying to get out of the building, and we're trying to solidify the actual shooting numbers. More information on the shooter. This from USA Today. The man suspected of fatally shooting 5 people and injuring 25 others at the LGBTQ nightclub referenced the fact that the injury numbers are expanding, is facing murder and hate crime charges. Prosecutors are expected to charge Anderson Lee Aldrich, 22 years of age, with 5 counts of murder, 5 counts of committing a bias-motivated crime, causing bodily injury. Authorities on Monday searching for a motive after the deadly rampage that left the community in mourning. The Associated Press reports the user used an AR-15 style semi-automatic weapon and a handgun, and additional ammunition magazines were also found at the crime scene. Magistrate Amanda Phillips signed an order sealing the arrest warrant at the request of El Paso County Deputy District Attorney Brent Nelson, who wrote that the release of information could jeopardize the ongoing investigation. Aldrich was arrested within minutes of police arriving at the Q Club, or Club Q, shortly after midnight Saturday. Motivation still under investigation. Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers told the NBC Today show, it has all the trappings of a hate crime, but we need to look at social media. We need to look at all kinds of other information that we're gathering from people who know the individual. Suthers said the district attorney will file court papers today to allow law enforcement to talk more about Aldrich's criminal history. He said the resident of his city He said residents of the city are rallying behind the club and its patrons. We are a community in mourning, but we are a community determined to make sure that the actions of a lone gunman do not define us. Authorities believe Aldrich, who is currently in custody being treated for injuries, acted alone. In an interview with 9 News, Colorado Springs, a television station actually in Denver, Colorado Springs Police Chief Adrian Vasquez said the suspect's mother is not cooperating with law enforcement. The suspect was injured when 2 club patrons confronted him. In 2021, Aldrich was arrested after his mother reported he threatened to kill her with a homemade bomb and other weapons. Though authorities at the time said no explosives were found, gun control advocates are asking why police didn't try to trigger Colorado's red flag law, which would have allowed authorities to seize the weapons his mother said he had. There's no public record that prosecutors charged Aldrich in that case. Let's see, and then it goes on to discuss more about the victims involved in this horrific shooting. It is awful and it is terrible. And that is sadly, I wish I could stop this particular kind of reporting, but there is even more violence in Florida. A man upset over his missing car keys apparently pulled a gun and opened fire when he became angry that his car keys were missing. Connor Anderson had been inside the Smiles nightclub in Palm Coast with a woman Sunday night when witnesses said he was unable to find his car keys and became upset. Anderson left the bar, returned with a firearm, putting the woman into a headlock and holding the gun to her head. Patrons intervened, tried to disarm Anderson as he fired the gun approximately 6 times towards several patrons inside the bar. Patrons were able to tackle Anderson to the ground before he fled the bar. Responding deputies say they found Anderson in a nearby parking lot, still armed with a 9mm Glock. He was taken into custody without incident and arrested. Here's a quote from Sheriff Rick Staley. It's rather colorful. It's amazing this dirtbag did not kill or seriously injure anyone during his moment of rage over something as small as his car keys. Violence is never the answer. Alcohol and guns never mix well. Staley commended his patrons who intervened, saying that putting themselves in danger in the case saved many lives. He was charged with 6 counts of shooting into or throwing deadly missiles, 3 counts of aggravated assault, battery using a firearm under the influence of alcoholic beverages, and improper exhibition of dangerous weapons or firearms. As always, there are additional factors that have to go into a discussion like this. We'll have that for you coming up in just a couple of moments. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. I hope you avoided violence over the weekend. I hope that you are feeling good and having a wonderful day so far as we get ready for the Thanksgiving holiday this Thursday. By the way, a programming note. The Wells Report will finish our week on Wednesday of this week and then let the turkey stuffing begin. And so we will have more about this violence spree, including Mayor Lori Lightfoot of Chicago making some hypocritical conversation regarding this particular set of violent acts. More about that in a moment. This is the Wells Report. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. A lot of people are talking a little bit about this. Ann is asking if this was a gun-safe venue. I'm currently efforting that as we speak. I'm trying to find out whether or not, like Texas, you cannot carry a weapon into a bar, whether you're a concealed weapons holder or not. If there is a sign posted, which is the 30-06 sign, in other words, section 30, paragraph 06, that says you are not allowed. If you carry your weapon, even if you're a concealed weapon holder in Texas, into a bar, you are guilty of criminal trespass. And so there are other laws like that regarding weapons being carried into a bar. Further, in Texas, you cannot carry a weapon into a location that derives 51% of its revenue from alcohol sales. I just went through and did a cursory look through Colorado gun laws, and I can't find anything like that, although they have a version of the 30-06 sign for local constabularies, for local communities. And so once again, I'm trying to find that out. But here in Texas, you don't get to carry your weapons. Now, is that something that would have stopped this if somebody, indeed a good guy with a gun, was carrying a weapon in a Colorado bar? Well, we don't really know for sure. By the way, Colorado does have a constitutional carry law, and so you can carry open in Colorado. But once again, the dance of trying to get a concealed weapons permit is somewhat more difficult. So what else is going on here? Interestingly, the CNN article just happened to mention a faith-based organization also located in Colorado Springs. Didn't actually accuse, but left a mental breadcrumb for overly active imaginations to follow. Yes, the coincidence about the law, one of the best rifle calibers in the history of the human endeavor is 30-06, and it's strange that our law having to do with firearms regarding firearms in any particular kind of venue. It doesn't have to be a bar, but if someone posts a 30-06 sign, you have to honor it. Let's see, I've heard of road rage and it's bad, but not key rage. Yeah, well, fortunately, nobody got hurt. But the idea that you can solve your problems with a weapon, like, for example, someone taking your car keys because you're too stoned to drive, which I suggest would be something like this, certainly isn't one of those. Also, by the way, there's a spate of virtue signaling going around the world. In Colorado, make that Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is being blasted for hers. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, as reported by Fox, was swiftly ridiculed for decrying the mass shooting in Colorado while her own city is plagued with rampant gang violence and near constant fatal shootings. The Democrat mayor responded to the deadly shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado where 5 people were killed, dozens injured, saying it made her sick. I'm sick of this S word. How many people need to be murdered? How many lives torn apart until it actually stops? We don't have to live like this. We don't have to die like this. The past weekend, and once again, there's an open Google search for gun violence in Chicago. This past weekend, 20 people shot, 3 were killed by gang-related shootings in the Windy City. This according to local news outlets and ABC7 in that town. Yeah, I'm not sure, says Dan O'Donnell. I'm not sure, but it seems you might be in a position to do something about murders in Colorado. And there were other typically snarky comments, as you might suggest. My sister in Islam, says Shira Hashmi. My sister in Islam, you are literally the mayor of Chicago. She is. Former ESPN sportscaster Janine Edwards also wondered where the Democrats' outrage was for the murders in her own city. Where's your outrage at the dozens of murders in our city every week? Gangs and criminals are running the place, not you. Yeah, that's one of the things that, I mean, Mayor Lightfoot is gay, but one of the things that you have to deal with when virtue signal becomes more real than reality. This is the Wells Report. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. Our chat room is flying today. By all means, join us. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. By the way, please support the report. By all means, if you find value in this broadcast, please share it with your friends. Ask them to share it with their friends. It's the show is beginning to gather an audience, but like any small campfire, it's very, very small right now, and we're trying to build it from the inside out. If you can help us out with that, I sure would appreciate it. A lot of ways to do it. You can subscribe to this broadcast on the platform where you're watching it. You can also share it with your friends. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a like if you like the show. And oh, by the way, if you want to support the show financially, go to patreon.com/The Wells Report, patreon.com/The Wells Report, and throw us $1 a month. That's all it costs. Not expensive. If you want to put $2 or $5 or whatever, that's fine. But $1 a month would be wonderful. And we sincerely appreciate your efforts to support this broadcast because, like I said, this is independent. Normally I do this at a radio station. And I am currently efforting getting ourselves back on a radio station soon, and that there's some good news on that, and we'll share it with you in due course. But at this particular moment, all this is coming out of my pocket, and I would sure like to be able to refill it in some way. If you can help us out, thanks. I would appreciate it greatly. So I'm going to read you a story here. I am not a factual savant. In other words, I am smart enough to understand that there's a lot that goes into what I'm about to share with you. And I have questions that I don't have the answers to that I would like you to help me answer. The Florida Gators revoked a scholarship offer to one of the top high school quarterbacks in the nation after the team filmed himself. Actually, he didn't film himself. He videoed himself. This is an archaic term that needs to get fixed. He filmed himself saying the N-word. There's more to the story. Marcus Stokes played quarterback for Nice High School in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. He received an offer from Florida, Penn State, Florida Atlantic, Georgia Southern, and Georgia State, among other schools, according to 24/7 Sports. According to the outlet, Stokes was a 4-star recruit and among the top 50 players in the state. A video surfaced last Friday that showed Stokes saying, "Welcome back," followed by the N-word. The reason why was because he was singing along with a rap song, and he was rapping along to the words, posted a video of it on social media. "I deeply apologize for the words in the song that I chose to say. It was hurtful and offensive to many people. I regret that." Here's his statement, if I can get the whole thing here. Going to Twitter. The tweet is now unavailable. Part of it said, let's see. And I don't know why so much of this is missing. But he was singing along to the words and posted a video of it on social media. "I deeply apologize for the words in the song that I chose to say. It was hurtful and offensive to many people. I regret that. I fully accept the consequences for my actions. I respect the University of Florida's decision to withdraw my scholarship to offer to play football. My intention was never to hurt anybody. I recognized that even when going along with the song, my words still carry a lot of weight. I will strive to be better and become the best version of myself, both on and off the field." I know that learning from my mistakes is a first important step. So, like I said, I'm not a factual savant. I mean, I know the realities behind the facts. However, I have to point out a couple of other facts. Fact number 1. This young man is white. He was singing along with a rap song. By the way, I've been trying to get a hold of the exact rap song that he was singing along with. But he was singing along with a rap song, and the implication is that rap song contained the N-word. So now I have to ask, if he's singing along with a rap song, and the N-word's in it, does that make him the obvious bigoted white guy that he's currently being cast as by media reports and sanctimonious sportscasters? You see, I want to ask a few questions. Question number 1. Is saying the N-word the most pejorative word in the English language? Is it okay for anyone to say? Yes or no? Why? Is it okay to say the N-word? Is it okay for anybody to say the N-word, the most pejorative word in the English language? Yes or no? And why? Question number 2. If this young man, if Marcus Stokes was black, would I be reporting this story? Question number 3. Are there any other very highly sought after football recruits who are black that we could find video of them saying the N-word? Here's another question. If there is video of these black scholastic sports superstars saying the N-word, should they have their scholarships canceled too? Now, this comes with a snark alert. I have to be careful about this. Well, actually, I don't. It's real simple. You know, why is this more of this white privilege we keep hearing about? You have the privilege to sing along with a black song, with a black rap song that uses the word, but you are supposed to, at the time when that word is used, are you supposed to drop it? If you're white, I mean. Is this not more of, here's another question. Is this not more of the institutional racism we keep hearing about? Now, once again, you know, I really want people to answer this question. I really want people to answer all of these questions. Because we either live in a society that is based on equality, which is what people of the left continually push. Everybody's equal, everybody's equal, everybody's equal, except when everybody's not equal. Is this kind of hypocrisy just part of life in the United States? Should it be? See, I don't think so. Let me answer this. Let me answer these questions. Is it okay for anyone to say the most pejorative word in the English language, the N-word? Is it okay for anyone to say it? The answer is no, regardless of your racial background. The answer is no. Well, why is it that some people get a pass? Moreover, and this is a question that I really need to know. If they get a pass, why? Why do people get a pass and why don't people get a pass? Langston has joined us. It's not okay for anyone to use the N-word, but inside each group, people use degrading terms. Women sometimes call each other the B word. Yeah, well, the B word and the N word are completely different words. Okay? And actually, when it comes to the B word, you know, I happen to be a dog breeder. I bred golden retrievers for years. Love the dogs. They are wonderful. And then I discovered Rottweilers, and they're even more wonderful. But the thing about it is that word is wholly inappropriate to be applied to human females. The B word is a word that is used because A dog is male. A female dog, called the B word, I'm not going to say it because it's kind of an ugly word. Let's face it. That's what a female dog is called. Okay. Now I've heard this on the Westminster Dog Show. My God, that is a great B word. But I just don't like the word, and I don't like the fact that it's applied to human females. I think it's ridiculous. But when we get back to all of this, every ethnic group uses unflattering words. Not every ethnic group. There are some words that are applied to white folk. Cracker is one of them, but we don't use it among ourselves, at least not usually. Most times when we're talking about white folk, we refer to rednecks or something along that line. But there is no analog for the N-word as used by anybody except people in the black community. And I'm trying to figure out why the black community, and I'm just going to make this plain, jealously guards this hypocrisy. If it's not okay for anybody to use it, why do people use it? Moreover, is it not racist to take somebody, a white guy, who's singing along with a rap song that has the word in it, apparently? I don't know what song he was singing, I've asked. If is that really using the B word, or is it singing along with a song? Obviously this is a horrendous overreaction by the University of Florida, in my view. There's a very interesting set of a verse that comes from England that is eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And I didn't know that I was saying the word when I was a little kid until I was hanging out with some black kids who used the word tiger in that. Catch a tiger by the toe. And then I realized, holy crap, what am I saying? I was like 12. All right. So I stopped saying it. I started saying catch a tiger by the toe. Now, by the way, there was a guy that did Top Gear in England that said that same rhyme and used the N-word in it, and realized, and he was in his 50s, and he realized what he was saying and went, oh my God. And I get that. I understand it. But there's been an awful lot of money. There's been an awful lot of money exchanged to people who use that word on a regular basis for the sake of their art. Dave Chappelle, who is, without doubt, the funniest human being in the history of human beings. Okay? He uses it all the time. Is that okay? Is that okay? Brad says Nazi is a derogatory word used for white people. Well, yeah, and that's horrific. But Nazis are a specific group of people that absolutely believed that their race was the pinnacle of human achievement. And that level of just horrifying terribleness speaks for itself, especially in light of history. But once again, if people can get destroyed for violating the woke rules of communications, then how come that's not equally applied to everyone? What's going to happen to this kid? What's going to happen? He's singing along with a rap song. What's going to happen to the guy that put the word in the rap song? Is he going to have his scholarship canceled? Or is he just going to keep selling recordings? You can't say records anymore because archaic term. Society needs to answer these questions. We need to answer these questions. Some people have. Morgan Freeman has answered this question on 60 Minutes. He says, I don't want you to think that I'm a black man. I want you to think that I'm a man. There is no reason to throw that modifier in there. Or is there? And why is this kid's life ruined for singing along with what he considered to be a cool rap tune? Somebody's got to ask the questions. I have the guts to do it. This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Going through the chat room, there are a couple of things going on. The N-word is wrong, so I use a substitute, a famous comedian. I still believe that the word that you need to substitute is person, or that guy, or that woman. I agree with Morgan Freeman. Let's see. George Carlin. Gary points out that George Carlin talked about the 7 words you can't use on TV. Those words are not pejorative from a racial standpoint. Actually, what those words are, they go back to the Communications Act of 1934. You cannot discuss any kind of excretory process. And the 7 words you can't say on television included one that is used all the time, and that's, I hate to use this word because I'm an old school broadcaster, pissed. It's all over the place. I'm sitting there going, really? Can we not think of another word? I mean, it's on newscasts. It's everywhere. And I'm going, really? Lola Falana was on The Tonight Show once, and she went, psst, and used that, which I thought was cute, and I thought it was funny. So did the studio audience, and so did Johnny Carson. But, the simple case of the matter is that those words are not nearly as pejorative as the N-word. They just aren't. And those words, were used by broadcasters to remember what you cannot say. Somebody else says, sad to say, but I believe certain groups in this country aren't looking for solutions to the answers to my questions. They're not looking for answers. They're just looking for, it looks to me like they're looking for a club to beat white guys with. And I think that's where we are now. And I think that's racism. And I think that hypocrisy, the hypocrisy of white privilege, the hypocrisy that this young man's dealing with, is just another of the entire lexicon of hypocrisy and hypocritical statements and hypocritical actions that are indefensible. Hypocrisy, I think, needs to be the eradication of that. Hypocrisy needs to be something that is a national mission. I'd like to see that happen without delay. I remember when he showed up in Dodger Stadium the first time. It was 1975. I was a junior in high school. And I didn't get to Dodger Stadium to see the concert, but I sure wanted to go. Well, the circle is complete. Elton John finished his last North American tour, Canada and the United States, at the place where it all began. According to USA Today, he said, tonight is a very special night, very emotional for me. As he finished Philadelphia Freedom on a grand piano, it's been a very long journey. He closed out his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour in North America yesterday. A goodbye made more poignant since Dodger Stadium was the famed setting for his 1975 breakout stadium concert. More than 47 years ago, his two electrifying sequined outfit-filled concerts at the historic stadium affirmed the star's rising supernova status. We are making history tonight, our first ever global stream on Disney Plus, said Elton John, and hello, Dodger Stadium. He's still recovering from a hip injury that forced the tour's postponement in September. Elton did not move across the stage with ease, much less jump on top his piano as he did in 1975. But his piano-pounding numbers haven't lost a step as he showed with an extended riff at the end of Leave On, one of my all-time favorite songs. After finishing the song, Elton John slumped over the piano in exaggerated exhaustion, only to jump back to his feet for more applause. The departing superstar had help from musical guest Brandi Carlile, sang the George Michael roll along Elton John for Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Holding a golden microphone, Carlile never lost her giddy expression. Why would she? British singer Kiki D joined Elton John to sing Don't Go Breaking My Heart nearly 5 decades after they recorded the same number. We decided to reenact that incredible moment. Dua Lipa and John sang their remix of Cold Heart, the same song he won an American Music Award for Best Collaboration. A cadre of Hollywood stars attended, some walking a pre-concert red carpet, including Jojo Siwa, Heidi Klum, Angela Bassett, Courtney B. Vance, John Stamos, Connie Britton, Kirsten Dunst, Miles Teller, Jude Law, Paul McCartney, Mick Jagger, Neil Patrick Harris. Yeah. For his encore, he returned to the stage in an outfit that harkened back to his classic sparkling and snug 1975 Dodgers baseball uniform. I doubt it was the same one. The 2022 version was a full shimmering silver Dodgers robe with a number 1 on the back. Bob Mackey recreated the classic blue baseball cap to finish the throwback look. He brought along his songwriting partner, Bernie Taupin. If it wasn't for him, I would not be standing here. I want to spend the time with my family. I'll be 76 by the time I stop touring. I want to bring them here to show you exactly why I'm retiring. You made me. Without America, I wouldn't be here. Thank you for all the years of love and generosity. I wish you health, love, and prosperity. And then he said, Be kind to each other, and farewell. Great words. Not written by Bernie Taupin this time. Delivered by Elton John for all time. Let's take that advice, shall we? Let's be kind to each other. Everybody makes mistakes. Let's let them off the hook. What do you say? God bless you, Elton. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. We're going to miss you. Back with more in just a moment. Hour number 1 in the books, and we'll be back with hour number 2 in just a second. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. This is hour number 2. If you missed hour number 1, I think it's pretty good. You ought to go back and take a listen. We report the news. We report the news truthfully, fairly, and accurately. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. I make commentary. That's not the news. That's just my opinion, just as valuable as yours, and therefore we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate, usually Monday through Friday, from 2 until 5 p.m. Central Time. We do the show live then. If you're watching on Rumble and Patreon, this show was recorded earlier in the day. Also, Facebook has changed things. They will go ahead and allow you to stream live, but they won't allow you to make that stream public immediately. So what I have to do is I have to take the video and I have to re-enter it, and that doesn't happen until midnight because they have to look it over and make sure everything's cool on it, which is fine. I don't have any problem with that. They've been really good to me over the years. Facebook has canceled an awful lot of people, but they haven't canceled me. And I think it's because Facebook, by the way, is right over there. I mean, they have warehouses and warehouses and warehouses, huge ones, filled with the computer equipment that makes Facebook work. There are people listening to there are people who listen to this broadcast on Facebook, and not because they have to. And I think that has stood me in good stead, because really, I'm not trying to trade in misinformation. I'm trading in information, and that's what I do. And so, one of the things that is the bane of my existence is the insolent requirement by our federal politicians that they be the center of our lives. It truly, completely annoys me to no end that the federal government plays such a big role in our lives. The entire point of the Constitution in the United States and the Bill of Rights is to keep the government away from us, to render them essentially powerless in all the things except a very few number of activities. And those they set aside for political concerns. Politics is unavoidable, but the Constitution is plain. And that this government is at the center of our existence virtually every day, and certainly in the news world, is infuriating. However, it is the news. And since you come here for the news, I have to talk about politics. Because it's the news. Sometimes you just don't want to, but, if you do a news broadcast, okay, I'll quit bitching. Oh, look, I said that word after all. That was from last hour. Okay, here we go. Article 10. By all means, Article 10, please. By the way, state governments are supposed to be in our lives. Isn't it amazing the federal government spends more time in our lives than our state governments? We are the United States of America, right? Not the Federal Republic of America. Anyway, let's get on with it. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy is serving notice that his potential speakership will be politically volatile, says USA Today. He has said he will try to keep 3 high-profile Democrats off of certain committees. Democrats said McCarthy will do whatever his right wing wants him to do because he lacks the votes to land the speaker's job. That is not the case. But then that's USA Today. This is a biased news article. It's biased against Republicans. Bias is bad in any news context, regardless of who's doing it. And by the way, Fox News, other right-wing news circumstances, news organizations, their bias is just as bad. I happen to believe you want facts. That's why I do it. Let's see. In stumping for the position of Speaker, McCarthy targeted Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Representatives Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, members of the House Intelligence Committee. McCarthy and other Republicans have for months said these members' past statements and actions regarding issues like Israel, China, and Russia should keep them off those committees. I'll keep that promise to remove them, McCarthy told Fox News Sunday Morning Futures with Bartiromo. I'm stuck on Martha. Her first name is not Martha. Schiff and other Democrats said McCarthy is trying to court support from hard-right conservatives like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, who was expelled from committees during a 2021 vote of the full House because of incendiary statements about Democrats. I suspect he will do whatever Marjorie Taylor Greene wants him to do, said Adam Schiff on This Week on ABC. He's a very weak leader of his conference, meaning that he will adhere to the wishes of the lowest common denominator. And if that lowest common denominator wants to remove people from committees, that's what they'll do. McCarthy is favored to become Speaker of the House when Republicans take over the chamber, not next year, but it's not a done deal. Conservative Republicans like Representatives Andy Biggs of Arizona, Matt Gaetz of Florida said they will oppose McCarthy. Every vote counts because the GOP majority will likely be no more than 10 seats, which, by the way, is 2 more than the Democrats had last time. He does seem to be struggling to get 218 votes necessary to win the speakership, said Hakeem Jeffries, who is poised to be the Democrat leader in that very same institution. He's expected to be the Democrat leader in the next Congress. Let's see what happens on January 3rd, Jeffries told State of the Union on CNN. Representative Adam Kinzinger, who is retiring from Congress and ran afoul of McCarthy over the latter's support of Donald Trump, told CNN the presumed speaker has made a lot of promises to Greene and other hard-right conservatives. Right-wing Republicans won't be happy if McCarthy has to cut deals with Democrats to get essential business done, said Kinzinger. He could wind up as their political hostage. I frankly don't think he's going to last very long, says Kinzinger. Maybe he will just prove me wrong, but it's sad to see a man I think had so much potential totally sell himself. That is the article from USA Today. Ilhan Omar, Eric Swalwell hit back at McCarthy over a pledge to block them from House committees. And that goes like this. This is from Fox News. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's pledge to block Democrat Representatives Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff, and squad member Ilhan Omar from committee's next Congress drew a strong response from lawmakers. Omar, a Minnesota Democrat, has been accused of making anti-Semitic statements, claimed that McCarthy's pledge was just another example of her being targeted by Republicans. From the moment I was elected, the Republican Party has made it their mission to use fear, xenophobia, Islamophobia, and racism to target me on the House floor and through millions of dollars of campaign ads. McCarthy's efforts to repeatedly single me out for scorn and hatred, including threatening to strip me from my committee, does nothing to address the issues our constituents deal with. It does nothing to address inflation, health care, and solve the climate crisis. Omar said the constant stream of hate from conservatives has led to hundreds of death threats and credible plots against me and my family. Instead of doing anything to address open hostility toward religious minorities in his party, McCarthy is now lifting up people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and so many others. McCarthy, the Republican designee for House Speaker, told Fox News' Maria Bartiromo, Maria, not Martha, that when his party takes control of the House in January, it will make good on long-held promises to bar Omar, Schiff, and Swalwell from committees. The GOP leader said Swalwell's prior association with a Chinese spy, Schiff's promotion of Russia collusion theories, and Omar's criticism of Israel were disqualifying. One thing I said from the very beginning, Eric Swalwell cannot get a security clearance in the public sector. Why would we ever give him a security clearance and secrets to America? So I will not allow him to be on the House Intelligence Committee. You have Adam Schiff, who lied to the American public time and time again. We will not allow him to be on the Intelligence Committee either. Look at Congresswoman Omar. Her anti-Semitic comments that have gone forward, we're not going to allow her to be on Foreign Affairs. Schiff's office did not return a request for comment on the story. Swalwell's congressional office, meanwhile, was unfazed by McCarthy's pledge. Please circle back if McCarthy becomes Speaker, a spokeswoman for Swalwell told Fox News Digital. I'm going to make this plain. Ilhan Omar is an anti-Jewish bigot. The use of the term anti-Semitism is a way to sanitize anti-Jewish bigotry. That's just the case. Somehow, for some reason, speaking of hypocrisy, somehow, for some reason, it's okay for the Democrat Party to allow open, hostile, anti-Jewish bigotry among their ranks. And I don't know why. I don't have any idea why. I don't know why the Jewish community of the United States doesn't hammer the Democrat Party for consistent that consistent behavior. But then again, the Democrat Party has a long history of racial hatred, something they've tried to foist on their opposition as a manner to try to sanitize themselves. And then, of course, the hypocrisy of all of it, they are the first people to use some form of self-generated definition of racism to suit their political narrative, to hammer and often destroy people who disagree with them politically. You know, I was talking about hypocrisy last hour. That's going to get us. That is going to get us. And we need to stop it. And while I'm handing out hypocrisy clusters, let's go ahead and hand some out to the mainstream media. They also tolerate anti-Jewish bigotry as if it's anti-Semitism. It doesn't matter. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The people of the United States are constantly browbeaten about, say, for example, slavery. No one in the United States, to my knowledge, is a slave. Slavery was gone in 1863. Racism, on the other hand, is different. But slavery is not an issue. Let's talk about Native Americans, talking about the Trail of Tears. None of those people walk the Trail of Tears. They have ancestors who did. And by the way, if I was a Native American, and if I ever have a chance to do anything about this, I, by God, will. You guys have a whole litany of treaties from the government of the United States that have been completely ignored. Somebody was asking me about running for Congress. One of the things that I will do, aside from closing the border, at least working to close the border, aside from doing that, I'm going to sit on that House floor if I'm ever a member of that August organization. It'll never happen. But if that ever does happen, I'm going to identify the treaties that were given to Native Americans, and I'm going to make the government of the United States uphold them. And so what we have here is we have what I consider to be simple accountability. Now, I've just talked about Ilhan Omar. What about Adam Schiff? And what about Eric Swalwell? I'll get to those people in just a couple of moments. Kevin McCarthy, being called an acolyte of Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, by the way, was stripped of her committee assignments by soon-to-be former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who essentially is the author of demanding that certain people not be allowed on committees from the other party, which is outrageous in its face. She's the one that started all this. Democrats have nothing to complain about. But I sure have some complaints about some Democrats, and I agree with Kevin McCarthy on this one. More about that in a moment. This is the Wells Report. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Our chat room is open. Please, by all means, use it. Thanks. Appreciate it. And so, Kevin McCarthy, soon to be Speaker of the House of Representatives, he's not struggling for votes. He is going to remove people. He's going to remove people from certain committees, specifically Ilhan Omar. I just spoke to you about her. She's an anti-Jewish bigot. That the Democrat Party countenances Ilhan Omar in their caucus when they wouldn't condone Marjorie Taylor Greene on any committee speaks for itself. That level of hypocrisy stands on its own. I'm going to get to Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell in just a minute. I want to take my time on that one. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich said today Republican leader Kevin McCarthy would be right to remove Democrats like Omar, Adam Schiff, and Eric Swalwell from their committee assignments. McCarthy said he would take the action when he becomes the Speaker of the House. Here's what he said on Fox News this morning. I think Nancy Pelosi set the precedent. She did something that had never been done before and reached into the minority party to decide who could and who could not serve on some committees. I think Kevin McCarthy is simply following her precedent. So the Democrats have nothing to complain about because they started this dance. And frankly, the three people he's picked so far totally deserve to be kicked off committees. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, Mr. Speaker, and thanks very much for bringing that up. But I want to make this plain. The Democrat Party lost its mind. It has allowed people like Ilhan Omar to essentially turn that party into something un-American. And I've absolutely made that abundantly clear on this broadcast. And the reason I brought it up is because in order for the Republican Party to do anything, their intransigence based on political fear of what if is just infuriating to me. Absolutely infuriating to me. But when you look at all of this mess, and when the Republican Party can get away with that based on the fact that there is not an adversarial enough set of responsibilities, adversarial but still focused on America from the Democrat Party, then we have real problems in this nation. The division among the American people starts in Washington, D.C. There should be an adversarial relationship between both political parties, but both political parties need to be focused on America. And to do that, you focus on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That is the rallying point for all of us. Everyone is protected by it. Those protections are being dealt away in the political game by both parties. Therefore, both parties suck. And so we find ourselves in a position where now we have the Democrat Party, after losing its mind, started throwing its weight around in Washington, D.C. because they happen to have one-party rule. And I happen to believe that that is a danger as well. I mean, look at the garbage that we're dealing with. You know, Ilhan Omar, who could care less about inflation, who could care less about all the things she's trying to cloak herself in, up to and including the Constitution of the United States. She doesn't give a tinker's dang about the Constitution of the United States. She's a totalitarian. That is all. She's a bigot. That is all. Eric Swalwell, Adam Schiff. I have words. They're coming up next. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Chat room is flying. Please jump in at your earliest possible opportunity. It is the week before, the short week before Thanksgiving. We'll be back with more of the Wells Report in just a moment. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. We are waiting for your call at that number. You can also join us on the chat room, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and we appreciate it. We're talking about Kevin McCarthy, soon to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and his promise to remove Ilhan Omar, Adam Schiff, and Eric Swalwell from their committee assignments. I think that's really important. I'm glad he's doing it. We've talked about Ilhan Omar. I'm going to talk about Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell here in just a couple of minutes. I want to get to the chat room here. Someone says Omar needs to be removed from America. She hates the country. But the interesting thing about Ilhan Omar, and this is not in her defense, but it might sound like it, she came here when she was 9. She became Ilhan Omar, the Ilhan Omar we know, based on her education here in the United States. She was a waif in Somalia. She was brought to the United States. She was given all we could to a young woman who deserved better than her life in Somalia. And what ended up happening was that she went to the academy, the university that she graduated from, and became this virulent, bigoted, anti-American. And that's okay with the Democrat Party, which tells you about the deep sickness of that political party. The fact that she is an anti-Jewish bigot speaks for itself. Does she need to be removed from America? I guess. But the thing about that is that's not our call. Our call is to respect the voters of her congressional district. But the people of her congressional district need to spend some mirror time. You know, the mirror time thing that I talk from time to time, which is where you look in the mirror and have a frank and honest conversation with yourself, and you realize that you have to improve. Those kinds of conversations. But I suppose when you're a sociopath, all you can do in one of those conversations is reinforce all the garbage that you're throwing out on other people. That introspection seems to elude some people. Let's see who else. By the way, Mike says, Republicans, show me what you're going to do. Don't just tell me. We'll see if Kevin McCarthy actually does what he says he's going to do. Gary points out, why are Omar and AOC continually reelected? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in case you don't know, has been elected twice, or actually reelected twice. Twice by the people of Queens. What's wrong with those people? Hang on just a couple of seconds. This is my doctor. Hi, I can't take your call right now. Can I call you back? Okay, fantastic. Is there a direct number? Okay, I'll tell you what. Do me a favor and text it to me. Would you do that? Okay, I'll call you back, okay? And hopefully somebody will be able to answer, all right? Thank you. Bye-bye. One of the things you can't do on radio that you can do on this broadcast is actually take calls like that. Forgive me. Getting back to the chat room. Democrats in general ignore the Constitution. Well, so do Republicans. Let me go ahead and flesh that out just a little bit. Democrats openly ignore the Constitution. Republicans do it in an ulterior basis. So, which of these political parties is more honest? I mean, we absolutely can depend on the Democrat Party to say something stupid and ridiculous and anti-American and then stand by it as if it was gospel. Republicans, on the other hand, just sort of sit there and be silent and allow it to continue, which is a deep, deep character flaw in that party. In my view, just as deep as the racial character flaw in the Democrat Party. Mark says Omar marrying her brother and committing fraud at South Dakota State is another couple of issues that seem to escape the mainstream media's attention. Speaking of hypocrisy, yeah. Let's see. Gary puts out that he believes that Barack Obama has pure contempt for the Constitution. He said it in so many words on 60 Minutes. So Brad says, so do we show up at JD's house on Thanksgiving and what do we bring? I'd really like to do that one of these days. But do you realize how much work I have to do to get the house ready for guests? I really don't want to. Let's see. By the way, regarding Ilhan Omar, Mike says, in fact, she should be more thankful for how she turned out. Well, she should have turned out better. Why would she bring Somalia here after Somalia essentially would have ground her into dust because she happened to be female? She just doesn't understand. She doesn't know how to count her blessings. Once again, political sociopaths. She doesn't understand. They are radical constituents, I guess. Let's see, JD, they're both in it together. It's professional wrestling. Remember, while they're laughing at the way to the bank on our backs. Yes, Gary, they are. All right. Now, Kevin McCarthy says he's going to remove Ilhan Omar. As I've said, I've already covered that ground. Now let's talk about Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is a political sociopath. In other words, he has no central core. There is no what would be called a moral compass. But morality and essential deep Americanism just doesn't exist in the man because politics. He sold everything he's got for the sake of having a seat at the political table. What I cannot countenance about Adam Schiff is his outright lying, his anti-American manipulation of his committee posts. He cannot have a position of power in a committee because he uses it as a political tool. And there are times when his conduct has been outrageous. Further, Adam Schiff just plain lies on camera over and over and over. He is a liar. He's a sociopathic political liar. He has absolutely no reason to be interviewed by anyone about anything. Absolutely not. And he's on the Intelligence Committee, which is more of something that they seek than actually possess. Adam Schiff is an anti-American scumbag. He's a political jackass. And I have absolutely no use for Adam Schiff. Absolutely none. Had the situation been reversed, had there been a Republican congressman that said horrifyingly terrible things about a Democrat president, he'd already be out of Congress. But because of this hypocrisy, because of this willingness for the mainstream media to look the other way instead of putting this man under the hard, cold, magnifying glass of truth, mainly because I haven't had a chance to talk to the guy, and nor will I would absolutely undress that guy, live and in color, right in front of you. And I'd ask him, so, tell me about your lies regarding all of this stuff that you said about collusion in Russia. Tell me about all those. Tell me why they're not lies. Because the record, the proof, proves otherwise. And why is it that you would just simply lie to the American people over something so narrow as politics? Why would you do that? Those would be the first two questions I'd ask him. It would deteriorate from there. But he hasn't got the guts. He hasn't got the guts to do it. He doesn't have the character to confront his flaws. And therefore is the worst possible representative of his district. It's awful. And then there's Eric Swalwell, another political sociopath. And this guy This guy is a national security risk based on the fact that he is a source and has been a source of Chinese intelligence for God knows how long. In the industry, in the intelligence industry, a beautiful young woman who essentially consorts with someone in political power, that's called a honey trap. And that is exactly what Eric Swalwell fell for. There are people that are congresspeople that understand the seriousness of intelligence and security clearances. Eric Swalwell is completely bereft of the basic intellect required to understand when he's being played for a fool. That makes him a fool in charge of secrets of the United States of America and the possessor of a security clearance. These people have no business doing what they're doing. Now, once again, so all we have at this point are words. The Republican Party is really bad about speaking a great game and not having it at the end of the day. There will be pushback from the Democrat Party. We'll see whether or not the Republican Party falls into the age-old pattern of simply negotiating as opposed to actually acting when it comes to Democrat Party policy positions and all of these other things. One of the things that I have learned over the years, based on radio and dealing with some of the most creative and most intelligent and most talented people in the entire country, those are the people I did radio with, is how much of that capability and how much of that ability can be used in a way that causes everything they touch to flourish. The name of the job title is talent coordinator, putting the right butt in the right seats. Now, I don't know what committees are out there that Eric Swalwell and Adam Schiff can actually take part in. I don't believe there is a committee that works on crafting congressional lying, but that would be good for Adam Schiff. I don't know also if there's a congressional committee that is someone who creates policy regarding being played for a fool by intelligence agents around the world, but that would be a good place for Eric Swalwell. What these people need to do is need to be removed from power that can be deleterious to the aims and ideals of the United States of America. They need to be placed in a committee assignment that more, shall we say, comports with their capabilities. I frankly don't know what they are. There is no Ministry of Propaganda in the United States that I'm aware of, except, of course, for the editorial board of the Washington Post and the New York Times and ABC, NBC, CBS. CNN is making a brave try to stop it. MSNBC would be a good place for Eric Swalwell to land. No, he's stupid. No, it'd be a great place for Adam Schiff to land. Eric Swalwell, since they canceled the Bozo show, I really don't know where a complete abject fool would go to make a living. I don't have any idea where that would be. Well, maybe MSNBC. Maybe they could do a show together. Maybe the Schiff and Swalwell show would be something that would be fitting for MSNBC. By the way, I just got some ratings information about a particular show on MSNBC. They had 30,000 viewers nationwide. 30,000 viewers nationwide. When I was on the USA Radio Network, a network that very few people have ever heard of, and really doesn't have a whole lot of affiliates, to be perfectly honest with you, I quadrupled that number every day. MSNBC, a national network. What are they doing? except, of course, making a mockery of everything that the mainstream media stands for. Or maybe what they're doing is they're actually fulfilling everything that the mainstream media stands for. Look, all I can say is this. Those three people, soon to be Speaker McCarthy, that's a good start. Now what I want you to do is I want you to actually start getting some carnivores in place and actually get some things done. And if you don't do it, I'm going to barbecue your butt right here in full color. This is the Wells Report. I'll be back with more in just a moment. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Yeah, I am someone who genuinely attempts to bring real news to the fore. There is commentary about this, and that's probably the part of the show that makes me the most queasy. Because we need news. Are there things that need to be said? You're darn right they need to be said. Is that essentially a precedent that I follow? Yes. Yes, I do. While I didn't agree with a lot of the great names in news, I do agree with the fact that Edward R. Murrow had opinions. Walter Cronkite had opinions. Peter Jennings had opinions. Frank what's his name? Frank Reynolds had opinions. John Chancellor had opinions. These people have opinions, but they were ancillary to their news reporting. Do I agree with all the opinions of the people that I just named? Absolutely not. I don't. But all that being said, I have opinions too, and I try to make them ancillary. But when I see people in the public eye, in the public view, when I see people with positions of trust in the United States of America betray that trust, sorry, we're going to have issues. That is something that I believe, as someone who is a purveyor of real news, I believe that's something you need to know. And so while it may be the ugliest decoration on the news Christmas tree, my opinion, it is one that I believe is valuable at some level. And once again, I don't try to make it about me. I try to make these opinions about America. So please keep me on the straight and narrow. I sure would appreciate it. Someone suggested that that the House Janitorial Committee might be a good place for Ilhan Omar and Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. And then Brad said, wait a minute, they're not qualified for janitorial services? Yeah, because it's impossible for them to clean up anything. See what else? Oh, yeah. They're talking about the countdown clocks. By the way, that was a gift to me from James Parker. Anyway, the countdown clocks before all the segments and so on and so on, that's kind of an old school touch, and I kind of like it because what I try to do is I try to bring to this broadcast some of the trappings of the best newscasts that we've ever seen. And specifically, that is to try to make sure that you understand that the news broadcasts that you grew up with are far better than the ones that we currently live with. And I'm trying very hard to make sure that this broadcast is something that you can depend on. I work really hard at it, and I hope it comes through, and I hope it's valuable. So the 2024 presidential race started the other day when Donald Trump said, you know what? I'm going to run for the presidency. There are a lot of reasons why. I believe that the main reason is for him to be a part of the conversation and to clear his name, both of which I believe he deserves. Will he win? I don't know. There are a lot of really stupid statements being made by a lot of what I consider to be really stupid people. And we're going to be talking about one of the main ones here in just a little bit. But all I can tell you is that this is going to be a long haul for the next 2 years. I really hate the fact that the presidential election season just started when we just got finished with another heart-squeezing, disappointing. It doesn't make any difference which political party you're a part of. It was a disappointing election season. There's more, by the way, election news that we're going to have in the third hour of the broadcast that will at least raise your eyebrows. You don't want to miss that. That's coming up here in just a little bit, actually. Man, time flies when you're reporting the news. The 2024 presidential race, as reported by USA Today, is going to be a long, drawn-out affair. Yes. I'm sorry, I don't mean to whimper. Trump and potential 2024 rivals generally played nice in separate speeches to the Republican Jewish coalition, though some members of the latter group made it clear they blamed Trump for the party's recent election reversals. Well, that's part of the popular propaganda now, isn't it? A few made the point more explicitly than others. We keep losing and losing and losing, said former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. He would know. He lost last time he tried. He is the most voluble presidential hopeful at the weekend conference held in Las Vegas. He is most assuredly not. He is most assuredly not. The fact of the matter is the reason we're losing is because Donald Trump has put him before everybody else. That's an easy thing to say. And it may be deserved. Donald Trump did put himself in front of a lot of things in this nation. Mr. President, I'm talking about Donald Trump now. Sir, if you want to win this election, you better start acting like a president. Can you do it? I don't know. I do not know. You did great work, but it wasn't you. It was it was a combination of the people that you were putting together and the coalitions you built. Talk about that. The word is we, not I. If you can get that done, you might have a chance. Can't get that done? Well, we'll elect someone else. This is the Wells Report. Back for hour 3 in just a moment. Again, my brothers and sisters, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'll bring you hour number 3. You don't want to miss it. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. What do we do here? We report the news truthfully, fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. I make commentary that is not the news. It is simply my opinion, just as valuable as yours, and therefore we debate. You can do that a couple of different ways. You can call me on the telephone at 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can also join us on the chat room. It's flying today. The chat room is available at Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. If you're watching on Rumble and YouTube, this broadcast was recorded between 2 and 5 p.m. Central Time, live. And you can join us then if you'd like to, but we'll also put this up on YouTube and Facebook. YouTube and Patreon later on, right after the broadcast. I put those things up there, and that's what you're watching now. If you want to take part in the debate, if you want to touch this broadcast in some way, shape, or form, send me an email, thewellsreport@frontier.com. thewellsreport@frontier.com, common spelling. And make sure that in the subject line, you put the platform that you are writing me an email from, so I know it's you, okay? I sure would appreciate that. We do have this chat room, and I interact with the people on the chat room, so I'm going to start this show with this before I give you some explosive elections news. We were talking about President Trump at the end of last hour. President Trump may indeed have a viable path to the presidency in 2024. But he's going to have to start acting like a president instead of a demagogue. He's going to have to realize that it's not about him. I don't know that he can do that. His entire adult life, as certainly his public adult life, has been about him. That being said, he's going to have to put all that stuff away. He did some amazing things during his presidency, some things that really helped these United States. He should talk about those. But he didn't do it. We did it. The people that he was essentially managing as the CEO of the executive branch of the United States government. Hang on just a second. This is my doctor again. Hang on. Sorry about that. It's important enough that I do this. One of these days I'll tell you the story. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah. Going through the chat room. Let's see. There was one thing here that I want to share with you. Okay, here we go. Mark says, from his speech announcing his run, Trump seems to have changed his tone somewhat. He must. I still believe he needs to stop going back. Instead, hammer on the present and possible future of America. Absolutely. Absolutely. These people are bent on trying to disqualify him from an election that has nothing to do with the people trying to ruin him. This is the ugliest piece of American politics I've ever seen, especially considering the practitioners, the FBI, the Department of Justice. They're making a mockery of their charter. They are damaging this nation in this mindless pursuit of Donald Trump. And they've got to stop it. Now, I mean, the latest investigation is about something that happened 2 years ago. Hello? You've already lost this fight. Stop fighting it. And so, once again, I don't know whether it's just for public consumption or not, but the Democrat Party better move on. They keep saying they want to move on, and then they keep looking over their shoulder trying to slay the Trump dragon. They better stop it. Hopefully, Trump learned enough from his first term to surround himself with better people and actually listen to them. Well, he had really good people the last time. And what they tried to do was ruin him. Which people do you get? These people are essential to the operation of the executive branch of this government, and they know it. What's he going to do? Go to his Wharton School buddies, his alumni from the Wharton School in Philadelphia, and say, okay, now we're going to take over the country? I don't think so. But the idea that he wanted loyalty from the people he appointed was ridiculed in the mainstream media. And all the while, Democrat presidents, on the other hand, enjoy tacit approval of everything they do, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how un-American, no matter how bigoted, no matter how trivial. It makes no sense whatsoever. And Donald Trump, by the way, is the agent of change that exposed all of that. These people, the swamp, these people are jealously holding on to the garbage dump they wallow in. The people of the United States deserve better. The person who showed us the depth of that garbage dump was Donald J. Trump. And the media is complicit. And the federal law enforcement agencies, the FBI, Fidelity, I can't remember the B, but Integrity is the last one. They make a mockery of themselves every time they open up their mouth and discuss Trump. They've got to stop. Let's see. Mike said, hey, I created my first account on Twitter today, dipping my toes into the water. Sure. Gary says, seems like the media is chasing us off the airwaves to podcasts. Well, that's true. I know that's where I am. I'm not being chased. This was a decision I made. Let's see what else. Governor Christie once said, and he's a guy that's trying to tell you how to win an election when he doesn't know how himself. He said, I agree with Governor Cuomo on 80% of the issues. He lost me after that. Yeah, sure. Gary also points out, hey, what's up, Doc? It's none ya business, but I'll talk about it somewhere. Let's see what else. The media needs a serious beatdown. They've been abusing the First Amendment way too long. Well, they've been using the First Amendment to try to stop anybody else from using the First Amendment. It's once again, it's using the powers given them by the Constitution of the United States to curtail the rights of the people of the United States. This show is the antidote. Speaking of all this hypocrisy and all of this craziness, President Trump endorsed somewhere north of 220 various candidates. 20 of them lost their races. Most, if not all of them, were deniers of the 2020 election. High-profile deniers have heretofore not been successful politically. Just a few, a handful, 5 or 6. But that was supposedly some kind of stinging defeat for President Trump. Not so much. And oh, by the way, not so fast. The Arizona Attorney General's office, specifically the Assistant Attorney General, is demanding answers to, quote, myriad problems faced by Maricopa County voters on Election Day, breathing new life into the campaign for Republican gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, who has refused to concede to Democrat-elect Katie Hobbs for governor. Assistant Attorney General Jennifer Wright sent a letter Saturday to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office demanding explanations for election issues before the results can be certified next week. She's not going to certify these until she gets these questions answered. Here's what she said, quote, the Elections Integrity Unit of the Arizona Attorney General's Office has received hundreds of complaints since Election Day pertaining to issues related to the administration of the 2022 general election in Maricopa County. These complaints go beyond pure speculation, but include first-hand witness accounts that raise concerns regarding Maricopa's lawful compliance with Arizona election law. She continues, Arizonans deserve a full report and accounting of the myriad problems that occurred in relation to Maricopa County's administration of the 2022 election. As the canvass is looming, and these issues relate to Maricopa County's ability to lawfully certify election results, the unit requests a response to the aforementioned issues on or before Maricopa County submits its official canvass to the Secretary of State, which must occur on or before November 28th, 2022. Now, remember, the governor elect of Arizona is the Secretary of State. And so all of this election denying that was done by Kari Lake was a matter of the campaign, a detail somehow left out of news reports. They just wanted to portray her as a kook. Well, maybe not so kooky after all. Let me see if I can bring this letter up. It's one of those things. Let me see if I can bring it up. Okay, here we go. Stand by just a minute. Okay, this is very small print, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show it to you here. So let me just do this real fast, and voila. That's the letter that I'm going to attempt to read to you. Dear Mr. Liddy, the Elections Integrity Unit of the Arizona Attorney General's office has received hundreds of complaint letters on Election Day, etc. Pursuant to the authority under Arizona law, the Elections Integrity Unit, hereby requests the Maricopa County firmly respond and address the following concerns: Election Day ballot on demand printer configuration settings. According to Maricopa County, at least 60 voting locations had issues regarding or related to some ballot on demand printers having their prior configuration settings that were non-uniform, which appeared to have resulted in ballots that were unable to be read by the on-site tabulators. Based on sworn complaints submitted by election workers employed by Maricopa County, the BOD printers were tested on Monday, November 7th without any apparent problems. Many of these election workers report that I've got to figure out a way to make this bigger. Hang on just a couple of seconds here. Let me see if I can do that. No, let me see if I can do this. Okay. Hold on. Come on. Okay, hold on. Let me try this again. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take advantage of this break and I'm going to try to download this. I'm going to try to download this document so I can read it to you, because this is big news and we have to deal with this. Forgive me. I was hoping, I wasn't planning on reading this, but when the document popped up, it became important. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to download this sucker and see what I can do about making it happen. Let's see, copy link to Twitch, send via direct my bookmark. Okay, let me work on this and try to get it to you, and I will read it in full when we return here on the Wells Report. Okay, my name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. There are problems with the Arizona election, and the Attorney General is involved. Back with more in just a moment. This is the Wells Report. I turned up my microphone too loud. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I was successful. I'm incredibly proud of myself. I've come up with a larger version of this letter, one I can actually read. So by all means, let's read it together, shall we? The Elections Integrity Unit, this is to a Mr. Liddy, Maricopa County Administrator or Administration of the 2022 general election. The Elections Integrity Unit of the Arizona Attorney General's Office, AGO, received hundreds of complaints since Election Day pertaining to issues relating to the administration of the 2022 general election in Maricopa County. These complaints go beyond pure speculation, include firsthand witness accounts, and raise concerns regarding Maricopa's lawful compliance with Arizona election law. According to Maricopa County, at least 60 voting locations had issues related to some ballot on demand printers having printer configuration settings that were non uniform. Let's see, non uniform, right? Okay, which appeared to have resulted on ballots or in ballots that were unable to be read by on site tabulators. Based on sworn complaints submitted by election workers employed by Maricopa County, the BOD printers, ballot on demand, were tested on Monday, November 17th without apparent problems. Many of those election workers report that despite successful testing the night before, the tabulators began experiencing problems reading ballots printed by BOD printers within the first 30 minutes of voting on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Based on the plethora of reports from election workers, poll observers, and voters, combined with Maricopa County's admission that there were, in fact, widespread problems related to non uniform BOD printer configuration settings, the unit requests that Maricopa County provide a comprehensive report detailing with specificity one, the voting locations that had problems with either BOD printers or tabulators. Two, the specific problems at each voting location. 3, any other issues related to BOD printers and or tabulators that may have contributed to the problems at voting locations. 4, a comprehensive log of all changes to the BOD printer configuration settings to include the identity of individuals making those changes. 5, Maricopa County's standard for the BOT printer configuration settings as specified in internal technical specifications and or manufacturer technical specifications. 6, the precise time the non-uniform printer configuration settings were found to be the root cause of the problem. And 7, the method used to update or reconfigure the printing configuration settings at each voting location, specifically if technicians were sent to the voting location, when they were deployed in the field, and when did they make the changes at each voting location. Alternatively, if the network administrator was able to make universal changes, please detail when and how the printer configuration settings were corrected. Following widespread reports of problems at voting locations on Election Day, Chairman Gates publicly stated the voters who had already checked into e-poll book but were having difficulties voting could check out of that location and would be able nonetheless to vote in another location. Based on sworn complaints received by the unit, not only have poll workers reported they were not trained and or provided with information on how to execute checkout procedures, many voters have reported the second voting location required the original voting location. Or, excuse me, the second voting location required a voter to cast a provisional ballot, as e-poll books maintained the voter had cast a ballot in the original voting location. In fact, Arizona law specifically prohibits provisional ballots to be counted when a voter has signed multiple poll books. If the voter's name is not signed on the roster, if there is no indication the voter voted on an earlier ballot, the provisional ballot envelope shall be opened and the ballot shall be counted. If there is information showing the person did vote, the provisional ballot shall remain unopened and shall not be counted. Were their votes missed? Apparently so. Maricopa County. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. The Assistant Attorney General of the state of Arizona has asked the Maricopa County election officials, not just asked, but has demanded answers to questions that I read to you in the previous segment. There are other things that they are demanding in a letter that was sent today. You need to know about this. And I don't care what your political party is. I do not care at all. Mark says, I talked to a couple of friends who live in Tempe, Arizona. Although they didn't personally have difficulty voting, they mentioned several of their friends who did. Let's see. Okay. So there you go. That's what we have so far. I'm hoping that Alan Schaefer, who lives in Arizona and is a Democrat, I hope he is listening when I say it doesn't matter what political party you're a part of. This is something we all need fixed. We should all demand the answers being asked by the Assistant Attorney General of the state of Arizona, certainly of Maricopa County. Kari Lake, who was ostensibly defeated in the gubernatorial election, at least so far, has refused to accept the results. She's been ridiculed as an election denier when she was running against the Secretary of State. And there were problems very much like the ones we see in this election, where answers are being demanded by the Assistant Attorney General. And she talked about that because she was running against the Secretary of State. The sitting Secretary of State should have recused herself from this election as soon as she decided to run for governor. That she did not do so is part and parcel of the stink surrounding this election. So let's continue with the letter that was sent today, because like I said, if you're an American, you should be aware of this. The Attorney General continues, please provide a detailed report indicating when and how poll workers were trained and or provided with procedures on how to check out voters from one location so they could lawfully vote in another location. 2, the legal basis for the checkout procedures in light of the specific law, why Maricopa continued to publicly encourage voters to leave a voting location after having been notified by the unit that poll workers appeared to be improperly trained on checkout procedures, and 4, a report detailing all voters who were provided a provisional ballot due to having already signed an e-poll book at another election day voting location and the final disposition of their provisional ballot. Ballots deposited in door 3 and statutorily required election board closeout duties. Due to widespread problems in non-uniform printer configuration settings, many voters were unable to tabulate their ballots on election day using on-site tabulators. Instead, voters were instructed to deposit their ballot in door 3. According to statements by Chairman Gates, Recorder Richer, Maricopa County Official Communications, door 3 ballots were transported to Maricopa County Tabulation Center to be tabulated by the Hi-Pro 821 or Canon G1130 tabulators at Central Count. Maricopa County appears to have failed to adhere to the statutory guidelines in segregating, counting, tabulating, tallying, and transporting the door 3 ballots. In fact, Maricopa County has admitted that. In some locations, door 3 non-tabulated ballots were commingled with tabulated ballots at the voting location. Further, we have received a sworn complaint from an election observer indicating that more than 1,700 door 3 non-tabulated ballots from one voting location were placed in black duffel bags that were intended to be used for tabulated ballots. Pursuant to Arizona law, Maricopa County was required to complete reconciliation of ballots cast against check-ins at the voting locations before leaving the voting location, not at Central Count. And then she references the Elections Procedures Manual. Please provide a copy of each voting location's official ballot report, including any discrepancies in the report and explanations for those discrepancies. Please also report or provide a written statement clarifying the reconciliation that appears to have occurred at Central Count on or around November 16th, 2022. Finally, please provide a written report regarding how many ballots were commingled, how many ballots were placed inside black duffel bags intended for tabulated ballots, how and when Maricopa became aware of related problems, and how these problems were ultimately resolved. Arizonans deserve a full report and accounting of the myriad problems that occurred in relation to Maricopa County's administration of the 2022 general election. As the canvass is looming, and these issues related to Maricopa County's ability to lawfully certify election results, the unit requests a response to the aforementioned issues on or before Maricopa County submits its official canvass to the Secretary of State, which must occur on or before November 28, 2022. Sincerely, Jennifer Wright, Assistant Attorney General. So, is Jennifer Wright an election denier? Is she one of these conspiracy theorists? Is she someone who, for some reason whatever, is a partisan and absolutely refuses to go along with the notion that Katie Hobbs actually won the election? Do you agree, regardless of your political party, do you agree with the absolute necessity for all of these issues to be reconciled before the official canvass? Do you agree with any of this? If you don't, I need to know why. Here's a number: 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Call me right now. Operator is standing by me. I want to hear from you. I want to know why this is more of the conspiracy theory. That's what I want to know. Further, beyond that, I want to know a little bit more about this acceptable voter fraud in races that are decided by less than 1,000 votes. How much voter fraud is acceptable? Why is any voter fraud acceptable? Why are we putting up with this as Americans? Why is it that someone that questions the reality of these elections immediately, fascistically attempted to be canceled as some loon? There is no excuse for any of this. There's no excuse. I want to know who changed the printer settings after the test, because that looks like conspiracy to me. That's what it looks like. Conspiracy is a federal crime. Normally, at this point, I'd say, well, the FBI better look into this. But we can't, can we? So, any of those questions answerable? How about it? And of course, all of this is a situation where someone is working to essentially blow off an accurate accounting of votes. If this occurred after the test, if these printer changes were after the test, that's a crime. And so, once again, as the left has strenuously worked to try to cancel and to create problems for anybody disagreeing with the orthodoxy of safe and secure and absolutely accurate elections, you have some explaining to do. Now let me talk about the media. So the media can sit there and say, well, all we did was take the results that we had on hand from the states. Really? All of these brain desks and all of these brain rooms that are making these projections based on what is a actually very impressive operation of finding fact? What are they actually thinking? I mean, seriously, did any of those people raise questions about what happened in Arizona last time? Do you think they'd be a little bit more careful about their projections this time? I sure as hell do. I sure as hell would be if I was sitting there. And so, let me go to our chat room here and see what people are saying. Mark says, I used to live in Maricopa County. Let's see. Throw Arizona and Nevada counts out. They'll learn for next time. They can't. But they sure as hell can do a re-election, can't they? We know they can because they're doing one in Georgia. That's what needs to happen. Especially if those ballots that were provisional ballots were commingled with tabulated ballots. You know, I brought up on several occasions about all these people saying, no, the entire Arizona election was indeed, of 2020, was indeed recounted and certified. And I said, they're just recounting the ballots that they've already certified. What about the ballots that weren't certified? Because those people were able to get away with it last time, they thought they could get away with it this time. This is electioneering. This is conspiracy. And that's not me making some sort of wild speculation. If those printer changes were made after the test, that's criminal conspiracy. That's just plain and simple reality. In other words, it's the news. One last question. Why is it that I'm asking these questions, and so far nobody else is? I am fortunate that there are people at various networks who listen to this broadcast. It's amazing how many times I'll say something on this microphone and hear it later on in the day from somebody else's television broadcast. Normally, I find it amusing. This time, I want you to. I want you to read this letter on the air. I want you to read the questions. I want you to read the demands. I want you to put this out there like real journalists do. This game you're playing, this political garbage that you're throwing at the feet of the American people, it's gone all it can go. It's run its course. It's time to get back to reality. Your job is to provide that reality. Your job is to not continually explain why there are too many questions that are left unanswered. And those people who ask those questions, why they are reviled as anti-American conspiracy theories or theorists. It's time to do the news. And why is a guy sitting here doing a podcast that remains virtually unseen by any huge number of people, although the people that do see it, I cherish you and I thank you. But why am I asking these questions? Why aren't these questions being asked by somebody else? Why isn't there an investigation already undertaken right this very minute to not just chase down the garbage that happened, the demonstrated garbage that happened in 2022? But why isn't there a look back to the garbage that everybody knows about, but nobody wants to talk about in 2020? When will real people caring about real issues in the United States of America start investigating and reporting on them? Someone besides me. When will we, the people, decide that A, we're being made fools out of, B, that our votes, our voice is being silenced for politics? When will we admit it? When will we demand that it stop? We better get to the bottom of this. Because what will happen if we don't? It'll happen again in 2024. So all these people that cast aspersions on those people that don't believe the 2020 election, you owe us retractions. And you better get on it. I'll get to the chat room. In just a couple of minutes, we'll give you some of the commentary that's going on there. We'll finish this broadcast for today. But I ask you to pass this around to your friends. This broadcast. Now I'm asking you to pass it around to your fellow Americans. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I'm on Twitter. I've tried to send out that letter twice. I have not been successful so far. I'm scrolling down through the latest tweets to see if mine made it. And let's see. Oh, here's something. Maybe what we should do is I should share this with you. Hang on just a minute. Okay, this is Carrie Lake. She has a message for all of us. Let me get this on as quickly as I possibly can. Make sure that it's going to be heard this time. Off we go.
Hi, this is Carrie Lake, and I have a message to the people of Arizona and all Americans. 40 days ago, elections in Arizona officially started when mail-in ballots were sent out across our state. Election day was 13 days ago, and Maricopa County is still counting ballots. Printer problems, tabulation errors, 3-hour-long lines, and even longer. And confusing instructions given by election officials made this election day the most chaotic in Arizona's history. Half of voting centers that opened for the first time on election day, where the overwhelming majority of voters were voting for Kari Lake, were not operational or had significant failures. Would you get on an airplane if half of the engines didn't work? Would our friends in the media be able to broadcast their nightly propaganda if only half of their studio equipment was working? The 2022 general election in Arizona was botched and broken beyond repair. Thankfully, the Attorney General's office is demanding answers from Maricopa County. Attorney General Mark Brnovich is taking the first steps necessary to remedy this assault on our democracy. This isn't about Republicans or Democrats. This is about our sacred right to vote, a right that many voters were sadly deprived of on November 8th. Tens of thousands of you have reached out, pleading with me to fight this fight. Rest assured, I will, because if we give up now, we will no longer have a country. Attorneys are working diligently to gather information. Whistleblowers are coming forward, and the curtain is being lifted. Whether done accidentally or intentionally, it is clear that this election was a debacle that destroyed any trust in our elections. Arizonans who choose to make their voice heard on election day should not be disenfranchised or punished for choosing to vote in person. Yet they were. I want you to know, Arizona, I will continue fighting until we restore confidence and faith in our elections.
There you go. So is she one of these election deniers that needs to be ignored? Is the Attorney General's office of Arizona an election denier that needs to be ignored? Is there indeed a conspiracy afoot? Sure looks like it. Oops. Getting back to the chat room. I don't think Katie Hobbs won. Too many questions, too close. Side note, I don't think one should qualify if they refuse to debate. Katie Hobbs would not debate Kari Lake. It's simple. If a state's vote can't be validated by 48 hours, when 48 states did it, throw it out. I would say so. The FBI is political. We can't trust the FBI. Conspiracy is a federal crime. Where's the DOJ? Oh, yeah. Looking backward, rather, for an investigation of January 6th, 2 years ago. Why aren't they looking at this conspiracy that's, okay, in my view, completely obvious? What are they doing? Doesn't look like they're doing much. I could be wrong. No, I can't be wrong on this one. Let's see. Too many people are indifferent. The FBI is the American Gestapo now. Sure looks like it. Too much trouble to actually go someplace and vote after COVID. Well, but that's not really the issue. The voters voted. The people trying to sway the vote, they're the ones that worked on all this. So we know that Republicans vote 68% more than Democrats. It's a bit unusual. The majority of these issues happen in predominantly conservative districts. Correct. I pointed out several times that why is there voting difficulty in swing states? Let's see. I say vote in person with your ID or don't vote. Oh, I know. You walk around. You're likely to get run over by one of these big carts. I don't know what that is. I think that's Walmart. Voting in person or nothing. So it's odd most of this happened in conservative districts, and that Republicans vote by 68% more than Democrats on election day. Let's see what else. Ban lobbying with state money. Yeah. Ban out-of-state donations. Yeah. Why is the person running the election is also the person on the ballot? Great question. My mom and her hubby gave money to him campaigning in Connecticut to Robert Francis' campaign running against Cruz. Bite me, Mom. He lost. You don't have to bite anyone. Let's see. They don't listen to us because they have the power, because they planned, orchestrated, and stole it. We fell asleep long enough to let them. Yeah, because when it comes right down to it, the responsibility is ours. We, the people of the United States. Democrats want elections gone anyway. They get in the way, just like the Constitution. Got to hand it to the left. They've mastered the art of cheating. Those are not my words. Those are your fellow Americans' words. Should you heed them? Yeah, I think so. Thanks for watching the Wells Report. See you tomorrow. Man, oh man. This reeks, doesn't it? At least somebody's on the case. At least someone's on the case. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. This is just the news. That's all this broadcast is. Just the news. Just the news. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much for watching. I'm going to go get on with my rat killing, which is a Wells slang for my errand list. God bless you. Stand strong, please. Thank you.